community-based art has always been a part of my life, and understanding the power of theater to heal. Theater saved my life, quite literally. I would not be here had I not found the theater.
There's a joy spread in being like, what can happen, what is the impacts that these young women can make on the world in their work that we're facilitating, and really creating space for them to be all of themselves through art, through political education, through healing.
We would get there, and the girls would slowly roll in, and food, like Anna was talking about. So we got to a point where we just realized that they had to eat every time. So we'd eat, and then Anna talked earlier about ritual being very important. So we had the ritual of checking in, going around and just honoring whatever the girls were walking in with. And sometimes the girls would go into very deep detail about what they were feeling, and sometimes it was, I'm cool, right? Or I don't feel like it, and that's just one of their check-in. And then meditation, right? A grounding and a meditation, getting in the space. And then some sort of vocal warm-up, breathing exercise to move in that direction. And then it varied, right? And then it varied. So then it was either political education and improv and journaling, or it was improv and journaling and then doing the reading. We used poems a lot as a way to get them used to reading words and comfortable with putting emotion on it. And we would do, give different direction about how to read it. So we did that a lot. And then we would close out with Pass the Pulse, which was my favorite piece of it. And every time the girls would hug each other, tell each other they loved them, hug us.
They were beautiful. They were so beautiful.
And then off they would go.
Many of our girls, most of our girls, if not all of them, had some very basic needs not met. And then we said, come to this theater program, right? And I believe it's a necessity as they tell their stories and who they are. But those things, if they're not working in connection with meeting basic needs, then the part where they don't have food, they don't have housing, they are in and out of foster care, all of these things will overthrow your whole program.
Things we didn't know, right, or think about, the demographic that we were working with, transient, right, not time-bound. The idea initially was that they would improv their way to writing their own pieces. And then there were so many shifts in girls and timing and when we were going to perform and then we weren't going to perform. And there was one period we went from having like 15 girls, right, to 8 to 2, right, for an extended period of time. So balancing the realities of Black girls from low-income communities who've gone through some things that I can't even imagine the weight of. I'm gonna cry. So balancing them bringing all of themselves and all of their experience into the space with trying to incorporate theater discipline, like being on time, or grounding yourself before you begin the work, or not talking when somebody else is doing a monologue, or commitment to being at rehearsal, right, on time and for the duration. Things that, as actors, that's how we live our lives, was challenging, but we never stopped trying.
Yeah.
There was one young woman, or she would need to leave earlier. It was always something, right, with her.
You could talk her into everything.
Oh my God. I love her. And
she showed up all the time.
And she would show up every week. And then there was this one time, and she legit had to leave early. It was like a legit thing, but it was closer to performance, and I was irritated. And so anyway, she did it, she bounced out, right? And then like 2 minutes later, the door opened again, and she came back and gave this very thorough explanation about why she had to go, apologized basically for interrupting the process, assured us that she was going to go home and do the work she needed to do, and she would see us next week. And then she left, and I was like,
she would have never done that a year ago.
Did that just happen? It just happened.
That amount of accountability that this young woman who's, what, 16, 17? Adults don't have that.
Because at first the mandate was you had to perform, right, when we first started. And then, again, things we learned, right, that for a bunch of reasons that just was not going to work. The re-trigger, re-traumatization of the young women. And so we put it out there. We were like, here's your option, because we want you to write the piece. And so it was an option, whether you decided you want to do your own piece or if we could hire some actors that could perform your pieces for you. And a lot more girls thought that they were going to end up having to act. I think just knowing that they had the safety net of the actors allowed them to write the piece, right? It's like, okay, so I'm not really going to have to get up and perform this, right, in front of an audience. Someone else will do it. Okay, I'm going to finish the piece. But at the end, the majority of the girls who remained in the cohort, they wanted to they wanted to perform their own stuff. The other learning, I think, around the come as you are, what the fullness of that really means, right? And so I would never go to work high, right? I'd never show up to rehearsal high, or drunk or whatever else, or go out before the show, and right? Like, but it was more important for them to be in the space and allow them to make the decision about their sobriety in that space. Mm-hmm. And let the power of the work that they were doing in the theater for them to choose it, than us going, you have to show up this way and that way and this way, otherwise you can't be in the space. And that was not always comfortable, right?
But they couldn't come in the space and not participate at all. And so that was very clear. And if they didn't participate, they didn't get paid that day.
There's that feeling that you get when you walk into a theater, right? As an actor, I think like when you walk into a theater space and it's empty and there's the stage and like the work's getting ready to start, and then the lights and the sound, like there's just, and it was really important for us that they had that experience of doing theater on a stage with the lights and a tech and right, an audience, and they got that, right?
And we really, I think, also tried to incorporate the theater exercise to match with the political education. So if we played or ritual. So if we played a imaginary objects game, later on, they would bring that another imaginary object that meant something to them into an altar space. If they did statues, and it could be like statues in a place in Hawaii that they're practicing on, just fun stuff. But later on, they would bring those kinds of activities into a space where we talk about police brutality. So it's like really using those activities, theater activities, to forward the vision of what we want for the young people. And to also bring them to a space that's like, we know it feels weird, and sometimes we feel weird, and it's okay. And so when we gathered the pieces, there's a bunch of themes that came up. Family themes, a lot about mothers, and some of them were mothers. Violence, the political themes that came through that were beautiful. It is very easy in this work to say, here are all the hard stories, and everybody can feel sorry for you. But being clear that our young ladies are badasses, and they're warriors and survivors, and they laugh and joke and make fun of each other and hold each other in space. So in seeing like the fullness of our group, I wanted their stories to really be about that. They started also doing things that were about them. One young woman comes in and all she says in her check-in is, "This is like the worst day of my life," and she starts crying. And all the young women surrounded her, put their hands on her, and hugged her and held her. We didn't do that. They did that on their own. And so when you see them care for each other like that,
in ways that have been modeled for them, right?
Yes.
Like there was a practice.
One of the young women who had kind of started off really strong and then had a bunch of stuff happen to her. And then Kate was coming back. She was back there with them and like going through the pieces, and they were like giving her notes and telling her say it like this. And those are the things where we go, not only are they down for each other, but they're down for the work and they're down for themselves to do the best possible work that they can do for each other. Young people and our young women, we want them to come and feel safe and taken care of. So when you're going into a space that can be extremely difficult, when young people are in gratitude like that for what you have to offer them, for how you love them, because we're in gratitude for them, and that back and forth is really like, we would leave all the time and be like, man, I'm so glad I came.